Welcome back to another video. The Pacific Ocean is one of the largest water bodies on Earth, harboring several continents. But it has become a common route for the transportation of illegal drugs over the years. Join us as we take a look at how the Pacific became a drug superhighway. Australia, a new market for drugs. Australia is well known for many interesting things. It's one of the cleanest and most organized countries in the world, with thousands of people coming every day to start a new life. The culture, wildlife, and sports have lent a helping hand for the nation to develop and prosper. But underneath the glory and glamour, this country has been fighting a big war on substances of abuse these days. The great southern land has now become a huge market for cocaine and methamphetamine. Locals are now paying huge sums of money for just a gram of these drugs. The demand for these illicit substances has grown substantially in Australia and New Zealand over the past few years, and smugglers are earning a fortune from these areas. The drugs manufactured in Colombia and Latin America cost as little as $8. But with the growing demand of these substances in Australia and New Zealand, a massive price hike has emerged. Australians pay as much as $200 for these drugs, making it an ideal place for these cartels to expand their business. But that doesn't mean that supplying these substances is easy. Cartels have gone to extensive measures to ensure that the supply in these nations only grows. Whether it be by land or sea, smugglers are using every path they can to get into these regions. For a long time, these gangs have been utilizing the Pacific Ocean to get their goods to Australia and remain unchecked. Now, with increased police enforcement patrolling these waters, smugglers have adopted a new route dubbed as the Drug Superhighway. The distance between South America and Australia is about 8,000 miles, which is quite difficult to cover in a single voyage. But the Pacific Islands, like Fiji and Tonga, are an ideal place for these criminals to stop and store their shipments for as long as they like, and then send them to their original destination. For this reason, the Pacific Islands have now become a haven for these criminals. A growing concern in the islands. A common way for these transporters is to drop their shipments in the sea with a GPS beacon attached to it. Customs officials cannot detect these substances underwater, and the shipment can stay there for days. When the time is right, a ship with the tracker will find these drugs and pick them up for their next transportation. Bricks of cocaine and methamphetamine wash up on Fijian shores every now and then, which may be hard to recognize at first glance. The crime groups have been increasingly creative in hiding their original products from the locals. Pictures of buffaloes printed on these bricks have been the most common statement received by officials from the locals. But the problem has now become even more massive in the Pacific Islands, as local crime groups are now manufacturing their own drugs. The bustling drug industry has now become a major issue for the officials, as local usage might cause a huge spike in criminal activity. But producing these substances is also a big issue for the local gangs, as they don't have the right chemicals to manufacture the right product. Reports indicate that these criminals are now using any chemical to get their desired product, including rat poison and mosquito spray. Drug usage in these islands has increased significantly over the years. In Fiji, there were only 148 police cases related to drugs in 2009. Within 10 years, this number had gone to 1,400. Moreover, the island had only 2 cases of methamphetamine usage in 2009, and it climbed to 113 by 2019. These drugs are most commonly used by taxi drivers and local employees to perform long shifts at work. It's also become an increasingly common party drug among rich clients and prostitutes. Like this video if you find it interesting, because we have something unbelievable to tell you at the end. While islands like Fiji and Tonga are battling against drugs to keep local criminal activity at its lowest, the organized crime networks haven't stopped trafficking drugs to Australia and New Zealand. Alternative routes have only created new stops along the way, and this extensive course has created a new problem for a region just a few kilometers away, Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is a third world country located in a remote area. It's now the final stop before these substances reach their final destination through the Superhighway. Heavy activity in the country due to these activities have put it on high alert for apprehending these culprits. Officials are now patrolling the oceans frequently to catch any suspicious activity and individuals. Law enforcement agencies found a few kilograms of cocaine in the village of Mabadwan a few months ago. This shipment was destined for Australia, but the plans were foiled by the police and 6 people were arrested. The route used by these crime syndicates is quite lengthy and tricky. Reports suggest that these shipments are originally sent from the United States or South America and cover most of the journey to Papua New Guinea through sea. Their first stop is Port Moresby, from where they are transported via road to Kerama. They're then shipped through the waters to one of the few islands found in the Torres Strait, Daru Island. From here, the coast of Australia is just a few minutes away, making it increasingly difficult to catch this cargo on the way. The influx of drugs in Papua New Guinea has created a major concern among the region's officials and leaders. Drugs like methamphetamine and cocaine might not just be transshipped, but used by the locals. This would cause a rapid increase in crime rate, as the people are already working hard to make ends meet. Often, the locals might get caught in the duty of storing these shipments on land and transporting them to Australia due to poverty. Due to these issues, local governing bodies and police are keeping a strict eye on the locals. Strict measures. Drug consumption in New Zealand and Australia have caused a major concern among the country's governments. With individuals willing to pay a lot of money for just a few grams of these drugs, it's imperative to put a stop to this practice once and for all. Therefore, these countries have been applying strict laws to prevent any trafficking and sales in the country. Customs have started patrolling the waters extensively, along with cooperation from the local officials of Papua New Guinea. Moreover, immigrants caught smuggling and dealing drugs to locals will be sentenced to prison and deported. A large number of individuals have been caught in the process, and huge shipments have been caught, thanks to the efforts of the Australian Coast Guard and enforcement agencies. But it hasn't stopped the locals from getting involved in the illicit activities across the waters. Drug usage has also resulted in local gangs becoming increasingly violent to anyone who gets in their way. According to sources, these criminals have now become increasingly dangerous due to the supply of drugs and weapons. They'll kidnap anyone and torture them till their last breath if they want to. A number of such events of this nature have been noted in the region. Make sure you let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and subscribe to the channel for more such content. Here's something even more concerning about the drug trafficking and usage in the Pacific Islands. This problem has also caused the locals to suffer immensely, because there are no established rehabilitation centers in the region, no health specialists on the subject, and no clinics for methadone. Drug addiction is not even recognized as a problem in the country, which is also a concern. Those that want to seek help end up at St. Giles Hospital in Suva, which has reported a dramatic increase in individuals looking for treatment for substance use problems, most notably methamphetamine. It's not just the developed countries fighting against these illicit substances. Many developing countries are also seeing the devastating effect of drugs. Although new laws and strict surveillance have limited the import and consumption of cocaine and methamphetamine in the region, it still remains an issue that might take years to eradicate.